and welcome to Pro Baseball World Tour here on the RGC Multimedia YouTube channel. My name is Rick Crabb, and joining me as always from his palatial state, the state of New York, Mr. Eric Marenbach. Eric, how was your weekend? Did you get to see your Franklin Square Hitman play this weekend?
The kids actually played in a wood bat tournament. And it was actually kind of a last-minute thing. I'm trying to remember again the name of the officer that the benefit was for. It was an officer that was killed in the line of duty sometime a couple of years ago, somewhere around the Midtown South area. So this tournament, which, by the way, was not the usual 12-year-old aluminum bats, but they switched over to wood bats. Apparently, the officer in question had always preferred wood bats as he portrayed his love for baseball.
Interesting.
So, whichever team participated in the tournament were using wood bats instead of the normal composites or aluminum that kids of that age are used to using. So it was a little bit tough to get used to. As a matter of fact, the first batter that we had actually broke the bat that he used. It was kind of unique, and all the fathers were like freaking out. It's like, holy crap, we really don't have that many bats, and there's nowhere we can go to buy any, so don't break anything. Sure enough, I don't know how it was done or what miracle actually, I don't know, but somebody actually found in a trash can, like maybe 100 feet up from the field, 2 other wooden bats. So the collection was saved somewhat, but we didn't have that much equipment to begin with as far as the bats go. Wow,
yeah, that's unusual, because I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of little leagues use the aluminum bats because of money. I mean, you can use them. I mean, I played in some little leagues. I'm sure you have too, where I would play with bats that have like 2 or 3 dents in them, but we'd still be able to use them, you know. But yeah, that's interesting though. But I'm kind of surprised they didn't go to like Dick's Sporting Goods and buy like a whole bunch of them beforehand. But I mean, the organizers of the tournament, not just not necessarily the teams, but
well, actually, there was some sort of a table where stuff was being sold, and there were raffles and everything. Benefits, of course, going to this the cops fund. So they could have bought, right off the raffle tables or whatever, but they chose not to, and then all of a sudden they found stuff in a garbage can.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, the results weren't that good. They lost the 2 games on Saturday. Then the consolation game, which they actually played one of the teams that they lost against on Saturday. The consolation game on Sunday, they actually won the game.
Huh, okay.
So they were 1-2.
All right. Well, it's too bad for the Hitmen, but hopefully they were able to help raise a lot of money for that particular fundraiser. And, of course, we send sympathies to the family and friends of that officer that had fallen. So hopefully it was all for a worthy cause, and hopefully the cause earned a lot of money. So, all right. Well, there's plenty to talk about this week in baseball, especially in North America. We're recording this episode as of Monday, the 19th. Game 1 of the World Series will be happening the next day. And we have the 2 teams advancing to the series. We have the Tampa Bay Rays going past the Houston Astros to advance in the American League side. And the Dodgers advancing to the National League side as well. it was kind of interesting. I was kind of hoping for an Astros-Dodgers series just so you can have a story. You have a storyline. You have the Grudge already. You have a bunch of things going on with that. But I don't know. The Rays are an interesting team this year, so I think it'll be a good series. Both teams, I think, both teams have a good shot at it. I believe. A lot of people were picking the Dodgers, going into the series, but the Rays kind of are. I guess it's kind of a COVID-related story. I mean, they're an unexpected team, and God bless them, they made it in. So, good luck to both teams involved. And of course, we still have a bubble situation. All the games will be played in Arlington, Texas, the Texas Rangers Stadium, where, oddly enough, the National League playoffs were. And now the entire World Series will be there. And I think you had mentioned it too, Eric, because when they were selling tickets, they were selling them for the World Series. But at the time, I didn't know if they were going to do American League bubble, National League bubble, or just keep everything all together. And it looks like they're keeping everything all together. So, all right. What are your comments about that, or any of the games from last week for that?
There's so much. You have, in the American League side, almost a repeat of 2004, where you had the Tampa Bay Rays pretty much manhandle the Astros in the first three, only to see the Astros come back and win the next three. It was almost a repeat of 2004, where, of course, my Yankees had the same 3-0 lead on the Red Sox, only to see the Red Sox win the next four and kind of dash their playoff hopes alive.
And Kurt Schilling in that bloody sock.
Oh, yeah. The only saving grace that kept 2004 from repeating itself, and you're probably going to laugh at this, but the Astros fell victim to the curse of Dusty Baker.
Oh, yeah.
And I love Dusty. I think he's one of the classiest managers, of all time, and he says what he believes in and a whole bunch of stuff, but ultimately, and it will show in his playoff resume, the man cannot win a playoff clincher when down to save his life.
Yeah, a lot of listeners living not too far from me in the Washington, D.C. area remember that, especially when they had that series against the Cardinals several years back. And, yeah, they're probably nodding right now listening to us as you say that. So, yeah, that's a shame. I like Dusty Baker, too. Again, probably for the same reasons. He seems like he's almost unfiltered with his interviews. But I got to give him credit, though, as far as keeping the team together and, I don't know, keeping them focused, to give them some momentum going into the playoffs, especially with a lot of the distractions with their controversies and, between the COVID and then what they were expecting to be facing, which was backlash from a lot of opposing fans and, I don't know, maybe even from some of their fans, too, for that scandal. But I'll give him credit, and, like I said, I thought the Astros actually were going to come back and win that series. I'm kind of surprised Tampa Bay pulled it out, but, glad for them that they did, I guess. But
I'm actually not surprised at how Game 7 transpired and the actual matchups. I mean, I'll be the first one to admit that I wanted the Braves to beat the Dodgers.
Right.
But now you've got a matchup where you've got the actual Mookie Betts facing what many players have called the Cuban Mookie Betts in the presence of Randy Rosarena.
That player is amazing. I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa Bay wins the World Series MVP, or I don't know. He might even be in the running for. Is he a rookie this year? You said, Eric, or?
He is a rookie this year. However, I don't think his numbers from the season were good enough to actually render a rookie of the year decision. I could be wrong.
Right.
I don't even know the participants or the finalists in the rookie of the year voting.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but it sounds more like you'll be remembered as a playoff hero for Tampa Bay if they do well in this series. But
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I can tell you firsthand, for those of you that are listening that may have me on some sort of social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or what have you, I actually posted a picture that I took with Rosie his last year with the Cardinals in spring training.
I saw that actually. I'll be posting. And folks, you can actually. I shouldn't say I'll be posting it. We're talking right now, and you're seeing it right now. So yeah.
After that spring training game, where we were talking with each other, I said to him, I go, hey, how about one of you getting one of your bats at the end of the game? And he says, sure. And sure enough, he comes out after his couple of innings of spraying, and he gives me one of his gamers.
Nice.
I'm thinking to myself, and I actually captioned it not only on Facebook but on Instagram. What were the Cardinals thinking of getting rid of this guy?
Right.
I mean, naturally, you can't project what a guy's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And Jose Martinez, who was another player that the Cardinals gave up to Tampa, and I think Tampa actually traded him or released him sometime during the COVID season. But go figure on this guy.
Right.
He just absolutely was a master at the American League Championship Series. And it's just so funny that a bunch of people gave him the moniker of the Cuban Mookie Betts, and the irony is that now he's actually facing the real Mookie Betts. And let's see who comes out on top. It should be fun.
It should be fun. And Mookie has come up clutch in a lot of games in the regular season. I know, granted, you're going to probably joke and say, okay, it doesn't take much to do that, but, I mean, he used to give the Orioles fits. Every game he played, he always had at least one clutch hit or RBI in him. And I'm sure, being rivals with the Yankees, I'm sure he can attest a few times he's played well against you guys too. But, I mean, yeah, that should be a good series. And the Dodgers are hungry because, I mean, this is their third out of the last 4 World Series that they've appeared in, and they wanted to. They've been knocking on the door. Now it's time for them to open the door and win one. But I mean, Tampa Bay might be an obstacle to them. And I mean, you do have two good storylines. I originally mentioned, as far as the Dodgers and the Astros being one, but you have the Dodgers hungry for another World Series, and then you have Tampa, who could be basically COVID title town. I mean, between the Lightning winning, the Rays now in the World Series, and then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with that quarterback who I refuse to name on this program, and his tight end that he likes to throw to from a team in the New England area. Well, I'm sure you can guess who that is. They have a chance of doing well and going deep in the playoffs. Maybe, oh God, Brady getting a 7th Super Bowl. Oh yeah, I wouldn't be able to handle it. That would be perfect for 2020. I swear. It's like, I don't know. It's almost like a sign of the apocalypse, I think. But anyway, some people may disagree.
I wonder if he's still deflating his balls in Tampa like he used to in New England.
Maybe Gazelle is. Hi-yo! No, I'm just kidding. Oh, man.
I felt that coming.
Yeah. But anyway, good luck to both the Rays and the Dodgers, and hopefully we'll get a good series. Hopefully get a long series. A 7-game series would be awesome, but, give us more games, more for us to talk about for sure. But.
And it's also advantageous to television rights for commercial money-making purposes as well.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure TV.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure Fox is rooting for that for sure. And I'm sure they're glad, market-wise, that they have Los Angeles. But also Tampa is a good story, too. And it's been an interesting year for them. Not only with the teams I mentioned, but that whole area. Orlando was the bubble for the NBA as well as for MLS and women's professional soccer. So, COVID has actually been, I don't want to say a good year for sports in Tampa and Orlando, but, it's been probably one of their more interesting ones, good or bad, I would say. You had an NBA, even though the Orlando Magic didn't win it, you did have a NBA championship won in Orlando. And you almost had a Florida team win it, even though it was the Heat. But so, you have championships being won in Florida, and you have two teams in... You have one team that did win a championship, and you have another one that won an American League championship and on their way possibly to a World Series. And Tampa Bay, of course, going on the free market list and trying to buy a Super Bowl for themselves. So we'll see. All right. Well, Eric, do you have anything else? Any other comments regarding Major League Baseball or anything else in North America for baseball?
No, I'm ready to hit some other countries.
Right. Yeah, you and I both. Yeah, no doubt. Okay, folks. Well, listen, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to move our world tour from North America to South Korea and talk some KBO. You're listening to Pro Baseball World Tour here on RTC Multimedia. We'll be right back. So, welcome to Pro Baseball World Tour here on RTC Multimedia. Rick Crabb and Eric Marin back. And we are moving our tour over to South Korea and the KBO. One interesting note about the KBO, you and I have been talking about this for several episodes about how close the pennant race is. I want to show a graphic that was posted as of Friday. I think it was from our friend Danny Kurtz in the My KBO group. He showed the standings going into the Friday evening Korea time games, or Friday morning on our time. The standings had the Dinos in first place, and you had LG, you had the Wiz, you had Doosan, you had the remaining teams all either tied or half a game from each other. You had four teams that were 5.5 out of first place, and then you have the Twins, they were 5 games out. So, it's like the race is getting closer and tighter. You could have... Not only could you have these seeds decided at the last minute, you could actually have some of these teams be eliminated just because of how close they are. This is just some craziness, but it's awesome craziness for any baseball fan or fan of any sport to see a division race this tight.
And I just wonder, I'm not familiar with it at all, but I wonder if there are any, playoff games within a playoff game.
Like a play-in game?
We settle it in North America where there's a one-game playoff to determine champion or a league champion, a wild card or whatever. I wonder if it's that way in any of the Asian leagues for that matter. It's never been that way in Taiwan, and that I know of. I wonder if it's that way in Korea.
I'm not sure. I think one thing I do know the KBO has in common with the CPBL is that their season's been extended because of rain makeup games, too. But, other than that, though, yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. It might maybe I might post that to the My KBO group, or I follow Daniel Kim. Maybe I don't know, text him and ask him about it. But yeah, that's interesting. That's a good question. I mean, something we would probably want to find out. And I also heard a few stories. Speaking of Daniel Kim, he was asked about the Kiwoom Heroes, because I think he played one of the games. I think Tuesday or Wednesday, ESPN broadcast one of their games, and I don't know how Kiwoom is doing it. Looks like they're going through new ownership. They've had health issues with their manager. They've lost a few players, and yet they are absolutely thick in this pennant race in the KBO. And on top of that, Daniel also made a point. They said they're probably have the lowest payroll in the league, mainly because they don't have a corporate sponsor for their team name. I mean, they have other sponsors, but I mean, it's like every other team has some type of corporation, like Samsung or LG or Doosan or anybody like that. Kiwoom is the only team in the KBO that does not have that, and I don't know, it's interesting how they're able to keep things together, and I don't know, I guess give a lot of credit to their players and I guess their assistant coaches, if that are basically keeping their season together with bubble gum and wire, I guess. I don't know. It sounds almost like they're MacGyvering the whole season for them, but.
And it's funny because I'm going to be honest with you. When they switched over from Nexen to Kiwoom, Nexen was a relatively large corporation as far as I knew. And all of a sudden they switched over to Kiwoom. At first glance, I thought the whole thing was a typo.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm like, what the hell are the Kiwoom Heroes? It's the Nexen Heroes.
Right.
But, they've been there for a couple of years. As far as the corporate sponsorship thing, I don't know what Kiwoom represents.
I'm not sure either, yeah.
But they're still hanging in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I give them credit.
Right, and if I'm not mistaken, they not only changed their name, but didn't they move to Seoul? I mean, I think when they were Nexen, they were playing somewhere. But they were playing where one of the other existing KBO teams, I think might have been either where the Wyverns or the Wiz, one of them. I think it was. But they had moved from a different city, and then they had another team replace them. So I don't know. It's kind of strange how they're able to do that, but I don't know. Good for them. And for a while, I mean, Eric, they looked like they were strong. Like I've said many times, I thought they were going to bypass the Dinos, but then the Dinos got red hot, and then the LG Twins and the Wiz got hot as well, and Doosan and Kia and stayed in enough just to keep up with everybody, but it's still very tight. And so I'm about to read off the standings for the KBO right now, as it'll dictate. We still have the first place NC Dinos at 80-52-4. Have the LG Twins at 77-59-3. The KT Wiz at 76-59-1. The aforementioned Kiwoom Heroes at 79-62-1. The Doosan Bears, defending champions, at 74-59-4. Outside looking in, still, but might be fading away. The Kia Tigers at 69-65-0. Lotte at 68-65-1. Samsung definitely fading further at 61-73-4. And the SK Wyverns at 48-89-1, and the Fighting Hanwha Eagles at 43-92-3. So those are your standings for the KBO. And one other note I want to make too, Eric. It looks like Rojas for a while was cooling off, but now it seems like he's starting to pick back up, not only in home runs but also in the batting average as well too. And it looks like he's pretty close to being the MVP of that league. I know it was I think what's his name from the, I can't think of his name from the Twins. The home run hitter from there. Ramos, I'm sorry. Roberto Ramos, I think, trailed Rojas by maybe like 3 home runs I saw last week. And then Hyun-Soo Kim was trailing him as far as batting average or runners in scoring position, something like that. But there was one category he was close to Rojas in. But it looks like Rojas, I think, is going to probably be your regular season MVP of that league. So, and well-deserved. And it even struck some conversation between the ESPN analyst and Daniel Kim asking if they think he'll draw any major league interest. And he said it's hard to say. It depends on, I guess, the deal and all that. He said there's a lot of factors, but because he said there have been a lot of players where KBO teams were interested in a player, but then a major league team would step up at the last minute, or be the opposite, where a major league team would be interested, but somehow the negotiations would fall through. So it should be interesting. I mean, KBO does not pay nearly as high as Major League Baseball, but there's still, you can still make a decent living playing over there, especially if you're a star. And from what I've been told, it's a good experience too, even if you're not. So, I think you and I have both talked about it. I think it would definitely be a good experience watching them. So I would imagine playing over there and seeing their culture and etc. would be good for them as well.
See, I just wonder if a guy like Rojas does garner some MLB signage, whether it's a spring training invite or, actually filling in. It all depends on free agency in MLB, which, because of COVID, probably the numbers as far as what potential free agents want and or can command, whereas you get a guy coming back from Korea in the presence of Rojas that would probably take a cheaper deal relative to a major league contract because he's making whatever money he made in Korea, and it would be that much of a step up, but yet still low compared to quote-unquote MLB standards.
Right. And I imagine there might be also some cases with incentives and all that too. I'm far from being an expert as far as a capologist or an expert on any professional sports salary, but I don't know. It would definitely be above my pay grade either way, that's for sure. But
I'll tell you what, that's what makes baseball so wonderful, the fact that there's no cap per se. Okay, there is somewhat of a cap as far as luxury tax and all the other BS that you have.
right.
But along with there being no cap, there's also no floor. So, while we criticize teams like Tampa for spending so little, it's not so much how you spend it or where you spend it, but spending it wisely.
Right.
And sometimes it's lucky to be better. It's better to be lucky than good.
It's evaluating them, that's true. And I'll be honest, there are a lot of people who complain about that there's no salary cap. Mainly, unfortunately, Eric, I have to say with the Yankees for over years. Although the recent years, I think there have been other teams who have been spending more, like the Dodgers. I think they're probably they may be among the highest, if not the highest now. But yeah, that is frustrating. I personally think there should be a floor, because having teams. Yes, there are small market teams that can't spend with the Yankees or the Red Sox or the Dodgers or anything like that. But same token, there are cases. The Tampa Rays were, criticized where it's like I had even heard cases where their office staff had to use the other side of paper to send out their, I don't know, press releases and dumb stuff like that. I mean, they were like really cutting corners on a lot of ridiculous stuff you don't even think a professional team would do. But and then you have the other team in Florida, the Corona Fish, who are notorious for spending money to get all these free agents. A lot of them turned out to be just high-priced rentals, and then they win a World Series, and then they cut everybody. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, it would be nice for the fan base, for the people who support you, who watch your games, who pay your season tickets, who pay for your overpriced beer and nachos, to reward them, you know, not only with the championship, but show some loyalty and keep some of those players in town if you can. Sometimes you can't, but well, Eric, do you have any other comments regarding Korea? Sorry to get off on that little tangent there, but, you know.
Sorry. I tell you, you know, the last couple of weeks of any season, especially when it's close, is always more fun. Yeah. They say baseball is more of a marathon than a sprint. I love marathons because you get to see every game. And, you know, people say about a sport like the NBA where you could avoid an entire game other than the last 2 minutes, and the last 2 minutes are the most exciting part of the game.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's also true of college basketball, definitely.
It seems to be that way, you know, when you get down to the nitty-gritty in some of these Asian leagues as well.
Yeah, especially since you have as we just mentioned with KBO and with the CPBL, as we'll talk about later on, the pennant races are so tight it may come down to the last week, if not the last game. So that does make it exciting. And, you know, as a fan, one of the things you want to sell to your fan base if your team is you want to give them hope that your team can do well enough to win. You know, so... And right now it looks like there are maybe 6 teams in Korea that have that hope. And when we get to our friends in Taiwan and the CPBL, it looks like all 4 teams in that league will have hope as well. So, but that's always a good time. And I know it was like I was so happy for my one friend that I went to watch Game 7 with last year. It was not actually... It was at Nationals Park, but the Nationals were actually playing in Houston, and it was just a big viewing party, and it was pouring down rain. Luckily, I mean, they still had maybe about like a little over 25,000 people there, but I guarantee if it hadn't been raining, that place would have been full. And I just knew that if the Nats would have won there, it would have been probably one of the biggest parties, not New Year's Eve, you know, and sure enough, it was. And I was reminded of one thing that's unique to Washington, D.C. and a few other states in the country. Marijuana is legal and was used to celebrate that night. I felt like I was at a Boston concert 30 years ago. But that was a good time. That was good for the fans of the Nationals to see. And, you know, you just want to be part of something like that, even if it's not your team, just to see, you know, sometimes just going to a Super Bowl with 2 teams that you don't follow, but seeing a good game and seeing some type of celebration is good.
Every time you mention something old, you keep on making me look in the mirror at my gray hairs and what's left of it.
Yeah. Well, I do that enough with myself, too, and, you know, it's kind of... Sometimes it's like I feel... I'm the old adage, you're as old as you feel, and then sometimes it's like I'll look in the mirror, I feel like I'm still in my 30s, and I look in the mirror and like, okay, who's this old guy looking back at me? But anyway, it's what it feels like sometimes, but I think that's why a lot of people love sports. They love the memories. They like the nostalgia. I mean, look at how well throwback jerseys sell, mainly for that reason too. So, all right, Eric. Well, do do you have any further comments regarding the KBO so we can look forward to the future of Korean baseball and our friends in Taiwan and everywhere else down the road?
I actually am hoping that Rojas takes it all, because as great of a player as he is, the team that he's on have the best alternate jerseys and or caps in sports. Logo-wise, and the fact that they actually have my gigantic head size in a flexed cap, so they have actually taken over as my team.
Right. Yeah, I like the regular jerseys, but yeah, those alternates, they were like, who was it? That was celebrating it was a Korean king or something, wasn't that? Because I think the dragons on the shoulder pads, I think, were like his crest or something, wasn't that?
Bongju or something like that, but the jerseys were like a royalish blue.
Mm-hmm.
Caps this time around were a royalish type blue with the lettering in the KP in yellow. Right. So that was just absolutely perfect for me, and I found out that the flex strip caps are being sold, and hence I'm ordering it.
Oh, there you go.
I'm combining that with the red spring training cap, which I originally bought that, but I decided that, hey, it's only money.
But, I mean, yes, why not? I mean, what are you going to... You can't take money with you, so, I mean, you might as well... If you can, you're not neglecting yourself or anyone living with you as far as food or rent or bills or anything. If you have a little bit, want to enjoy yourself, why not? Get a cap, get a bobblehead, get whatever.
There you go.
All right. Okay, folks. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, we're going to move our world tour over Taiwan and our friends in the CPBL. You're listening to Pro Baseball World Tour here in our CC Multimedia YouTube channel. We'll be right back. Alright folks, welcome back to Pro Baseball World Tour here on RGC Multimedia. We're Crab, Eric Marenbach, and as promised, we have moved our world tour over to Taiwan, and Eric will share his expertise of the CPBL. Alright Eric, what's going on over there this week?
It is the last full week. The season actually ended last Tuesday, but now you've got your series of makeup games to finish off the season. And you always know that the CPBL has made it sort of big when you've got a spectacular replay actually making MLB films.
No kidding.
And that was made last week. As a matter of fact, I sent you the video. Cheshuan Lin absolutely robbing Uni-Lions hitter on an over-the-wall catch in dead center field where everybody thought it was gone, including the broadcasters, the coaches, the players themselves, the player himself that was actually rounding the bases as Lynn came down from over the wall, and all of a sudden he comes up with the ball and throws it back into play, and everybody's like, what? What just happened? The Fubon bench, the Fubon dugout, Coach Hong is clapping, the entire bench is clapping, everybody else is like, what the hell just happened? And it takes catches like that to actually make MLB top 10, which it did last Thursday. And, you know, it's just so refreshing to see leagues like this make ESPN highlight reels.
Right.
And the highlight reels. And everybody else is like, who is this guy? This is a guy that the Red Sox gave up on, who was probably good outfield material, except, he doesn't have the pedigree of, say, a Mookie Betts or a J.D. Martinez or a Jackie Bradley Jr. or, throw any name out that Red Sox has had, whatever. But you bring him back in his native country, and the guy is superb.
Awesome. It's always good stuff from the CPBL. All right. Well, let's go to the standings for them real quick. And as we mentioned before, the standings are still pretty tight, although it looks like one team might be fading from the pack a little bit. We have Fubon, as you mentioned, at 30-26-1. Uni Lions at 30-27-1, half game. China Trust Brother Elephants at 29-27-2. And the Rakuten Monkeys at 25-34-0. So we still have 3 out of the 4 teams that are very, very tight. Rakuten, maybe not that far, but I guess how many makeup games do you think they have left, Eric?
I believe the last makeup game is on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually think that the Monkeys have been knocked out. So it feels a little weird not seeing a Taiwan series with both Brother and the Monkeys being in there.
Right.
The last time the Lions had actually made a Taiwan series and they actually won it was back in 2013. Fubon won it actually as the Ida Rhinos back in, I believe, 2016 or 17. Right around there. But it's been few and far between. Kind of refreshing to see. Either way, I wish I was there because I've got friends on all 4 teams, as you well know.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm even trying to make a way where if we can't Zoom me into a broadcast like they do with the ESPN KBO games,
mm-hmm.
I want to at least, try to FaceTime some of the guys that I know from the Lions and or the Guardians, depending on who faces the Elephants in the Taiwan series, just to wish them a little luck and BS with them and so on and so forth.
Right.
It's a kind of cool thing to say, and I'm just pissed off that I can't be there, but
yeah. Well,
thank you.
Well, hopefully advances in medical science will allow you and others to do that, and I don't know, maybe I would like to. You have me want. I've said it before many times, Eric. You have me wanting to go there now, so it's kind of like there's Japan, there's Korea, now Taiwan too. Oh my gosh! So that I think that would be an amazing experience. So.
Hey, at least you rack up your frequent flyer miles.
Oh yeah, no doubt. All right.
I mean, you got an 8,000-mile trip to Taiwan. I don't know what the mileage is to Japan or Korea, but
right. I know from what my friend told me when he went to Japan. I think he said he left from Newark, and I don't know how many layovers it was, but it was like a 16-hour flight. And from what he was like saying, he said that's awesome. To him, that was like, I don't know, sonic speed, but supersonic speed. I mean, he thought that was like a good time. I'm thinking, 16-hour flight, good lord. But, I'm sure it'd be well worth it, so.
You could probably do it in 14 hours. I know that the last trip that I did from New York, it took about 14 hours direct flight to Taiwan. You've got to be able, though, to sleep on the plane because by the time you get over there, the jet lag kind of kills you for a while. And, different people react to it different ways. Mm-hmm. And different people bounce back from it different.
Right.
You got to be able to sleep on planes, which I'm notorious I'm notoriously not a sleeper,
Right.
which kind of makes it bad. But when you have people that pick you up that, you know, are first getting up, and, you know, they're like, well, gung ho, let's go.
Right.
They kind of keep you awake, and, you know, the jet lag seems to subside.
Yeah. And like I think you said on a previous episode, it's like, hey, you make a convenience store run to get you some Red Bull to keep you up for a little bit.
That's the drink of champions.
There you go. But on the same token, I know how much you love CPBL. It's kind of like, I don't know, there have been instances, and I think I mentioned it too, it's like, sometimes if it's something you really enjoy, it's kind of like, if you get like a 2-hour nap, sometimes you felt like you feel rested enough, but there are other times where you can sleep for 12 hours and you feel like you're dragging, but I don't know. I think, especially if you're going for your first time, if you're watching those games, that's probably how you, I imagine that might have been how you felt in your first trip over there. So, let me ask you this, Eric, and I think you might have answered this on another episode, but how many times have you gone over there?
I've been there 4.
4, okay.
Yeah, and yesterday actually was the 2-year anniversary of the only perfect game in CPBL history where ex-minor leaguer Ryan Verdugo of the Lions actually had a 1-0 perfect game. The run actually came in the bottom half of the ninth on a leadoff homer by former Yankee prospect Fulin Quo.
No kidding.
So it's like Verdugo pitches 9 innings of perfect ball, and it's 0-0 going into the bottom of the ninth. The Chinese broadcasters are like, "Oh my God." It's a perfect game. You know, I can't understand Chinese, but basically he's saying, "Oh my God, he's perfect for a 9." And next thing you know, the second pitch comes out, and Fulin Quo hits a homer dead center, and that is like such a way to end the ball game like this. It's wow.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
I get goosebumps just thinking about it.
So, well, that's interesting. Now, do the CPBL, do they have any places with English language broadcasts, or is it just strictly just get it on Twitch and just watch it in?
No, this year was actually the first year, and basically it was because of COVID, that they extended themselves more or less on the Twitter pages to do broadcast in English.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise everything is in Chinese.
All right, interesting. And is it a specific dialect of Chinese? I think like when I get this T-shirt of Wei Yin Chen, which I think you have as well. I mean, I was told that his T-shirt was in Mandarin Chinese. I think he had played in Taiwan for a little bit. Is that do they have a specific dialect, or is it what type of Chinese?
There is Taiwanese, but for the most part, everybody speaks the more or less accepted language of Mandarin.
Okay.
And or writes it.
Right. Okay. All right.
Yeah, you get your townies that do the Taiwanese thing.
Uh-huh.
But for the most part, it's all Chinese.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, Eric, do you have any other insightful comments regarding the CPBL? Not that you didn't have any just now, but, have anything else you want to add to that? Or?
No, I'm just hoping, whoever between the two, whether it's Fulbon or the Lions, that take on the Guardians, that take on the Elephants, rather, I look forward to a very, very competitive series. There are pitchers on both ends, from the American side, on both the Lions and Guardians that I'm friendly with. So I look forward to it.
Okay. And we'll look forward to talking to you about it as well. So, okay. All right, folks, we're going to take one final break, and when we come back, we're going to take our world tour to Japan and possibly speak about some other winter leagues that are just starting up now. You are listening to Pro Baseball World Tour here on RGC Multimedia. We'll be right back. Alright, folks, welcome back to Pro Baseball World Tour. Rick Crabb with Eric Marin back. And as promised, we had moved our World Tour from Taiwan to Japan and the NPB. Eric, just before the program, I was trying to look up some new news with the NPB. I have to wonder about that league. I know the league's been in existence forever, but I mean, they don't seem to open. I guess they don't seem to open up as far as the social media, or at least from what I've been able to see. I have been trying to do different searches for different things, but I mean, once in a while I'll see a public relations story about the Cuban pitcher we spoke about last week or something like that. But I mean, other than that, they're strictly baseball, and it's good news about baseball, but I don't know, not finding any additional stories. Have you heard anything regarding the NPB?
I'm totally in agreement with you. They kind of keep to themselves, it's business as usual. I think, especially this year, they're trying to keep anything other than COVID, silent, and just go about the business, play the games, get into the Climax Series and Nippon Series with as little propaganda as possible, and just get her done.
Right. And that's totally understandable, and a lot of countries, especially this one, they kind of wish some of their professional leagues would do that right or wrong. You have a lot of people complaining about that, and it seems like that's what the Japanese are doing. So here, I guess they're keeping politics and anything else off of the diamond. So, all right. Well, let's go to the standings for the NPB. We will start with the Central Division as always. The Yomiuri Giants are in first place at 61, 35, and 5, followed by the Junichi Dragons at 51, 47, and 5. The Hanshin Tigers at 49, 47, and 6. The Yokohama Bay Stars at 49, 49, and 5. The Hiroshima Carp at 41, 51, and 10. The Yakut Swallows are at 36, 58, and 7. Moving on to the Pacific Division, we have the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks at 60, 39, and 5. The Chiba Lotte Marines at 55, 45, and 2. The Rakuten Golden Eagles at 49, 50, and 4. The Saibu Lions at 48, 50, and 2. Nippon Ham Fighters at 46, 53, and 4. And the Oryx Buffaloes at 38, 59, and 5. And those are your standings for the NPB in Japan. So, all right. So, Eric, do you have any further comments about our friends in Japan, or?
No, like I said, and it's really hard to say this, but no news is good news.
True,
so
yeah.
As long as they're keeping out of the line of fire, I guess it's a good thing, and let them just go about their business and let the ships flow where they may. It's unfortunate that I really don't have that much news to report on Japan itself, whether it's an excelling player or possible prospects coming into the U.S. for next year, but it's really been kind of quiet. A little surprising.
I'm kind of surprised at that myself, so yeah, most definitely. So, all right. Well, as I mentioned, we had a few. Last week we mentioned the proposed dates or starting date or definite starting dates of a few winter leagues in Central and South America, as well as our friends in Australia. Eric, I think you and I spoke off the air. I think you get a chance to watch the Mexican ball by chance, or?
Yeah. Now, here's the deal with Mexico. Mexico started actually last Sunday, and a new service as far as streaming goes took over. It's actually called Extra Base, or, if you convert it over to Spanish, it's called Extra Base.
Okay.
The transmission is that much better as far as 4K transmission. It's a little more expensive than what we're used to paying. The service that used to be on the whole thing used to charge $50 for the whole year.
Right.
Which included not only the Mexican winter leagues, but the summer leagues as well.
Huh, okay.
This year, with the summer league basically squashed because of COVID, and the winter league starting up, this new service came in, and it's charging pretty much $70
for last games.
Yeah. But the transmission is actually very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem is with it that it's only good on one device, and you can't necessarily share your account. So I actually had it on my computer first, then was going to put the app on my iPhone, so this way I could stream it through my Apple TV.
Right.
It wasn't working, and I actually contacted tech support through my expertise in Spanish, and they pretty much told me what the deal was as far as the changes that they had done to the sites and so on and so forth. So after a little bit of finagling, I was able to figure out, okay, A, you've got to transfer it over to the new site, and then B, you have to log out of whatever device you have it on just to put it on your one device and then stream it onto your Apple TV, Roku, what have you.
Oh, wow, that's a pain in the butt.
So it's a pain, but at least I got it done.
Right.
Now, there are some YouTube channels that will have one game on a night.
Mm-hmm.
Usually at the beginning of the season, they're just trying to, I guess, organize their schedule as far as which Mexican TV channel is actually doing which game. So I guess they're probably finagling with that now. Some of the Spanish channels are in the Spanish cable systems that you or I or other people subscribe to, the Latino packages on your specific cable or direct TV systems. They do things a different way also.
Okay.
But it's a different way of getting around. And once you're able to figure it out, the games are great.
Okay. All right, I'll make a note of that, and I don't know, maybe I might plunk some money down once I'm in the process of moving to yet another Toronto Blue Jays temporary home. And once I do that, maybe I'll watch that. That way we can.
So wait, you're going to Buffalo? You're going to Pittsburgh? You're going? Where are you going again?
Maybe Camden Yards. Oh, wait a minute. Nah, back to Buffalo. Damn it. All right. Yeah.
Hey, I don't know. As long as you're kind of hunkered down somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, no doubt. Oh, by the way, folks, you might remember last week I had purchased a shirt and I displayed it on the episode regarding, it was a kind of a spoof shirt of the COVID situation with the Blue Jays playing in Buffalo, where instead of the maple leaf, you had the Blue Jay wearing a face covering with the COVID cell as the maple leaf, and it actually had a back of the t-shirt say COVID-19 on it. And I actually wore it to a PetSmart earlier this weekend, Eric, and I got a couple compliments on it. So,
I was going to say, what was the reaction?
Yeah. No, they laughed, and especially since I actually, like, the day after I received it, I went to Lids and I bought an official Toronto Blue Jays ball cap to go with it, just so just so I could. So, but anyway. All right. Well, Eric, do you have any other comments regarding any of the other leagues or anything like that, or?
Well, the only leagues that are really going on are Cuba and Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Cuba, as of now, there's no fans anywhere in any of the stadiums. Mexico, depending on the area, is where you're seeing some sort of fans.
Okay.
It has to do with where they are in the districts.
Gotcha.
I believe the Sonora district is not allowing fans, whereas the upper part towards California, towards like the Tijuana area, they are allowing fans.
Okay.
And I got to tell you, and this is based from experience only, even if they were allowing fans, they don't show up until the third or fourth inning because they're busy getting drunk in the parking lot because of the cheap dollar beers.
Right. Plus, I guess, what time are the games? I don't know. Maybe it coincides with siesta, too. I don't know. But
no, actually, if you convert it to their time zones, the majority of the games are around what we do in MLB, like 7, 8 o'clock at night.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So with the time difference, some of the games don't start East Coast time until 9:30, 10 o'clock. But for the most part, it's their general prime time.
Okay. Fair enough. All right, folks, we want to thank you for listening and watching this episode as well. And next week we'll talk some more about the World Series. Depending on the length of the series, we may already have a World Series champion by the time of our next broadcast. Maybe not. We'll see. Hopefully, in a way, we don't. No offense to any Los Angeles or Tampa fans, but I don't know. We want to see more baseball, so we're greedy that way. So, all right. Thank you very much, folks, and we'll talk to you next week.
공룡 뚜루루뚜루 힘이 센 뚜루루뚜루 우리는 뚜루루뚜루 다이노스
NC 한빛 뚜루루뚜루 용감한 뚜루루뚜루 우리는 뚜루루뚜루 다이노스
NC 세리 뚜루루뚜루 듬직한 뚜루루뚜루 우리는 뚜루루뚜루 다이노스 오늘도 뚜루루뚜루 신난다 뚜루루뚜루 춤을 춰 뚜루루뚜루 다이노스